Welcome back from the break. Now, security analyst Dr. Acheampong has condemned Minister for Food and Agriculture Bryan Acheampong for instigating and inflaming tension with his comment about the upcoming elections. Mr. Acheampong was heard addressing party supporters at Imprice in the Eastern region after a health walk organized by the NPP that a party will do whatever it can to retain power in the 2024 general elections. Now, he has also given a signal that the NPP will face the NDC squarely if they attempt any radical approach during the elections. His comments have, however, been met with condemnation. Before we hear from Dr. Acheampong, who wants the IGP to stamp his authority before the issue escalates, let's listen to excerpts from the speech of Bryan Acheampong. But the NPP, sorry, we'll bring you the soundbite later, but the NPP has defended a comment by Bryan Acheampong, whereas the NDC says it is also ready to face them. We can now listen to the national organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boakye, and Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande.
Two major issues are contained in what Honorable Bryan Acheampong said. First of all, yes, he said that if the NDC thinks that we are going to use violence and threats, we are going to be stopped. Look, we have heard, we are in this country, and I'm surprised that sometimes when you hear this, you put the deaf ear to these things. The former president himself said that the NDC is a revolutionary party. They were born out of violence, and we're not afraid of violence. Recently, he's been heard saying that it's going to be put for put, and that the polling station is going to be hot. Not only that, their own national chairman said that even if they have blood, they're going to sacrifice it. Recently, this small boy who was arrested in Swami, saying that we're going to kill for power. When he was arrested and he was released on bail, he was granted bail, they celebrated him. A lot of their national officers are running around making statements that seeks to frighten the electorate. So what Honorable Bryan Acheampong was telling them is that, look, if you think that you are going to use violence, and if you think that you are going to use threats, then you'll be stopped. And on the issue of we not handing power over to them, he promised that on the economic recovery, economic turnaround that we are seeing, specifically he mentioned the stabilization of the cedi. And he also mentioned the falling prices of fuel. So yes, we are very confident that because of this, because we are going to manage it, because we are going to see a turnaround, we are not going to hand power over to them. I mean, this is a fair statement. He didn't say that even if NDC wins, we are not going to hand power over to them. This is a positive statement. And for that, this has energized our base.
What officials of government have started doing is just an indication of failure. And they have realized that the only alternative to stay on to power is to breed violence as they have done in the past. But I can assure them that we live in a country that has been very peaceful, a country where there are many people who have lived to see this country develop to this extent. We will not allow hooligans to take the country to hostage, and let not anyone underestimate the power of civil reaction, to the extent that if Ghanaians vote for the NDC, and we have evidence that we have won an election, we can assure them that they will leave. They will leave power, and Ghana will live on.
We can now hear from security analyst Dr. Acheampong, who wants the IGP to invite Bryan Acheampong over his comment.
Yeah, Mama B, our constitution actually is quite flexible on freedom of speech. And what Mr. Acheampong was saying is actually his opinion and not the opinion of the party. And the statement, his opinion, is definitely inconsistent with the constitutional framework of when to hand over power to the winning party. Political posturing, as he was doing, is not against the law. In fact, to be fair, NDC has also done some political posturing that they have a violent past. So if this is what NPP want, they can respond in equal measure. Both of them are allowed to make such speeches. However, there is a thin line between energizing the political base and weaponizing them. If this kind of talk continues, then Mr. Acheampong himself will be considered to be an unethical political leader, because a political leader would adhere to the rule of law and comply with what they say. So both of them cannot afford to alienate us, the population or the voters. So for the meantime, I think it's just posturing. However, the security agencies must be super alert because their work is already cut out for them. It's going to be now. So we all know that. For the lead to election is going to be now.
Dr. Norman, it's interesting you say this was Bryan Acheampong speaking in his personal capacity. A while ago, I spoke to Henry Nanabuachi, who is the national organizer of the NPP, and he says the party endorses Bryan Acheampong's comment. So it's become a party matter now.
Oh, okay. Then that is something else that we all have to be worried about. Because if this is what the party is saying, then I think NDC should also get itself prepared. And the people of Ghana should be more discerning and tell these two parties, if you don't yield to good order and speak politely to each other, us will not vote in the election. And we've seen that before in this country. So I think it is a very irresponsible position to be taken. I don't think any political party should go out and say, we support what you are doing, like in America, Donald Trump's instigation of January 6th. The Republican Party didn't say, we come to support you. They didn't publicly declare that. So for the party hierarchy to say that they support him, this is sad. This should not be. This is an act of desperation. However, we are so far away from 2024, this kind of posturing is going to happen. The Peace Council is not going to allow it to continue. The Chief Imam's office is not going to sit idle and let it happen. There are so many institutions that have interest in a peaceful election. They will all weigh in and put pressure on these parties to conform to good behavior. I believe that. So meanwhile, the supporters are making a lot of noise, but when we're getting close to, when they realize that the voters will not go for this kind of talk, this kind of conduct, they will chill. I believe that they will chill.
Dr. Ishmael Norman was speaking on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM now. Speaking on that same show, Executive Director for the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, wants the president to intervene before the situation escalates.
Given that he's a minister and he's a member of parliament, and he makes the statement, it cannot be taken lightly and given the precedent or antecedent. And that is why I endorse the point that the police ought to invite him for interrogation. Probably this is something that should be done, and the public fully aware and seen and informed, so that it would deter further action. I also think that the stage we are now, as he said, we are not immediately towards December I don't know if elections will be in December or November in 2024, but we have enough time to also deal with this mobilization of vigilantes and the militant wings of the parties and so on and so forth. And it is good enough time for the police to step up maybe. But finally, I think the person to speak is the president on this matter, and his ability to dismiss it as not his policy is extremely important, because he took action against Bryan Acheampong. The committee report, you remember the short commission report on what happened and how they were mobilized and so on, didn't get fully implemented. Other things were rejected as they overstepping their boundaries. But there's a precedent. In 2008, the 2008 elections, that led us to the handover to PNDC in 2009. You know, we had 3 presidential elections. The question of handing over or not is settled by the president. And President Kufuor, at the critical moment, said, hey, my fellow MPPs, go to court if you have issues. But for me as president, I would hand over according to the Constitution. He's there to uphold the Constitution, and we expected him to do that. And he set the precedent. And I think that would also be done.
Let's stay a bit longer on this Bryan Acheampong's political comment. And founding member of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Acheampong, has also condemned the remarks by the Agric Minister. Now, my colleague Samuel Mbura joins us via Zoom with details of the statement he issued on his misgivings. Samuel, what are the exact concerns of Dr. Acheampong?
All right, Kojo, in the statement that was issued today, titled Bryan Acheampong, the irresponsible cabinet minister, Mr. Acheampong says he's writing as an elderly citizen of Ghana and a founding member of the New Patriotic Party who cannot sit down unconcerned in the face of such destructive political statements by some recalcitrant elements in the political class. Without doubt, he says the statement by Bryan Acheampong can lead this nation into destruction beyond the extent the Akufo-Addo government has caused. It goes further to indicate that the statement made by Mr. Bryan Acheampong during the NPP unity walk at Kou on the 8th of April 2023 is not only irresponsible, but also violent and destructive, a statement that is senseless and uncalled for. And for Mr. Acheampong, a cabinet minister of the Republic of Ghana, to have said that the NPP will not hand over power to the NDC, even if the opposition wins, and whatever or whichever way will employ to ensure NPP stays in power beyond 2024, we will employ, is not only directed at the NDC, but it is dangerous or a dangerous threat to our democracy and the 1992 Constitution. He says he would like to assure Mr. Bryan Acheampong that some of them will not sit down unperturbed as he seeks to press the destructive button of the Fourth Republic, and we are resolved in our determination. He goes into the archives to reference the removal of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president in 1966. He says this nation has never known peace politically and economically. He said we have had series of coup d'etat, and the political class comes in for a period and the military takes over, a situation which has retarded our development rather than help it. This has gone on since 1966 until finally through the blood and sweat of gallant soldiers and civilians alike. And we had a constitutional rule in 1992. So he goes further to say that some of us in the NPP will not sit down unconcerned for such irresponsible behaviors alien to the NPP and inimical to national development to continue. Development is what our country greatly requires now. And as a cabinet minister, that is what Bryan Acheampong should address on political platforms, such as it was offered him last Saturday. And he concludes by advising Mr. Acheampong to, as a matter of urgency, withdraw and render an unqualified apology to the good people of Ghana for making such destructive, unlawful, unguided, unnecessary, and unintelligent political statements. He says our time is for sound arguments and on bread and butter issues, not hooliganism.
Okay. Now, is that how he wants the issue to be resolved, or he offers any recommendation of dealing with the matter?
So he is basically calling on him to render an apology, and the party should take it up from there.
All right, that's my colleague Saboli Bro with that statement by Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, founding member of the New Patriotic Party. Now, still on this matter, Buakwa South MP Samuel Acheampong has defended a comment by his colleague Abetifi MP. Now, according to him, Mr. Acheampong's comment has been taken out of context. And speaking on the probe on Joy News Sunday, Samuel Acheampong said Bryan Acheampong's comment was a political one, noting that what the minister meant was that the governing party was going to break the aid.
It's been taken out of context. I was on the stage, actually. There was nothing fiery about it. It was just in context that like you having a good fight, I'll beat you to pulp. If you said that, doesn't mean that you're going to use violence or anything. It's a political language. So I was a bit surprised that people are giving it some violence undertones and all that. He never, exhibited anything which was of violence in character. So I was surprised. He was surprised. But I was there listening to what he said. We will not let you come to power. What does it mean?
That they will never hand over to power.
Of course. That means we'll break the 8.
Okay.
Yeah. You know that you don't determine who is the one who comes to power. Electoral Commission. So it's all like political talk. No matter the fever pitch it might be, no politician determines who becomes president. The electorate will go and vote. We pray that it will be smooth. There won't be any violence, and then the Electoral Commission will do its work. And then it's published. So we've done this several times.
But you've seen and heard the reactions. At least the NDC has issued a statement asking for the arrest of Bryan Acheampong. Out of place, you say?
Totally out of place. I was very surprised that they have this overreaction. Immediately you go into that kind of frenzy, it will help the nation. They say, oh, are you sure you have the power to determine because of the economy you are coming back? You can also reply that way, that rather we'll boot you out. So when you say we'll boot you out, it's a metaphor. It doesn't mean you're going to use our foot. We'll use our thumb.
So that's Samuel Acheampong there. We'll take a quick break. We'll bring you business afterwards. Stay with us.